Hi, how's it going? Welcome back to Jon Does. This is Jon Does, where I actually do full episodes. Sorry about yesterday. What's that? Sorry, I'm seeing some stuff. Streamlabs updated on me today, and there's some stuff that I haven't checked out yet. Sorry about yesterday. My house has been kind of busy, as we'll say. So I'm giving you a show tonight. I'm giving you a show tomorrow. I have to cancel my Friday show, unfortunately. So there won't be a Friday show this week. It's kind of the best compromise I can do right now. But we got a show today. We're going to cover stuff that we were going to cover yesterday, and we've got a little bit more. So welcome. Before we get too deep into anything, don't forget to check out wilddinosaur.com. I got all kinds of cool stuff like these tote bags. This is art that I've made. They come in these really, really awesome polyester tote bags with these great handles that come in different colors. There's t-shirts, there's sweatshirts, there's socks, there's stickers, there's all kinds of stuff. So go check out wilddinosaur.com. It's really helpful. I really need to get some traffic there. So yeah, yesterday I was going to do a little bit of a discussion on Rogue One, because Andor came out today. I didn't get to finish that, so we'll talk a little bit about Rogue One. Keep this graphic up here. I hadn't really rewatched this in a while. I had an article I was reading yesterday. I'm not even going to go back to it. It's an old article, and it just talked about the reshoots and how extensive the reshoots were and how there was some big problems behind the scene, which there's basically been problems behind the scenes on all of the Star Wars movies. We don't know about the shows yet. I mean, it seems like so far so good with some of the shows. But basically all of the Disney era, the whole sequel trilogy, Solo and Rogue One, they all had massive issues going on behind the scenes. And during the reshoots, Tony Gilroy, who wrote like the Bourne movies and some other stuff, he stepped in to help as an assistant director. He helped rewrite some of the script, and he fought for a writing credit, which he got, and he also served as second unit director for the reshoots. Now, I don't know what the movie looked like beforehand, but I'm pretty into Rogue One. I fall into the camp of this is the best Star Wars movie in the new era so far. I think it's a nice tight package. It's a nice tight package of content. You know, it gives us all new characters that we didn't know before. We get like 2 seconds of R2 and C3PO, which is fine. Throw them in wherever. I don't really have a problem seeing them, as long as it makes sense, of course. But the whole main cast, new characters, and it leads into literally the beginning of A New Hope with the Death Star plans. I'm with you. I really enjoyed Rogue One and Badass Darth Vader. Yes, that is one of the best parts of this movie, for me, is the Darth Vader stuff. There's one or two. I think there's one line that's a little like, kind of cheesy with Darth Vader when he has a meeting with Krennic, and he says something about like, don't let your aspirations choke you or something. I don't remember what the line is at this point, but it was like a little on the nose and kind of silly. And since we've gotten Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and we've had Hayden Christensen back as Vader, I do think, and this is a tiny nitpick. I'm not saying this is a big deal, but they did some real doctoring with the vocals. I think they had, I don't remember how they did it, but I think they used old clips from James Earl Jones mixed with Hayden Christensen. There was something about the mixing. I can't remember. I should get back to you on that because audio is kind of my thing. And in Rogue One, rewatching Rogue One now, again, tiny gripe. Darth Vader sounds like old. He sounds, obviously they did get James Earl Jones to do the voice for Rogue One. And then, here we are a couple years later, like 5 years later or so, and we're watching Obi-Wan, and Vader sounds like younger Vader. And it was a blending of things, and new technology that they use. I think I heard there was like some software they use. I should look into that actually. But yeah, just again, minor gripe. Darth Vader does sound like an old man in Rogue One. Not to say that. I mean, look, Anakin Skywalker when he dies in Return of the Jedi is like 45 years old, something like that. Yeah, you would think that he was like way older considering the actor was in his like late 50s, I think. But yeah, Anakin Skywalker is only supposed to be like 45 or so when he dies, I think, in that area. So he's not like terribly old. Hold on. I actually want to fact check that. How old is Anakin in Return? 44. He's 44 years old. Anakin Skywalker is 44 years old. And that's Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi takes place like 4 years after A New Hope, which you can only assume Rogue One takes place within months before A New Hope, So, yeah, man, he sounds old. All good though. They're doing a really good job with making him sound good. Let's see. What else do I have? Krennic, Orson Krennic is a really awesome. He was a great foil in the movie. I thought he was a good Imperial character. Ben Mendelsohn is an amazing actor, so can't really go wrong. It's maybe a little unfortunate that this entire cast, aside from this Andor series, like, I'm probably not going to get much Orson Krennic. Or Jyn Erso, or I don't know. We'll get some of these other characters because of the Andor series, but like we'll probably not get too much of them. Maybe in books or comics or video games or something like that. But there's not like a ton of room, I don't think. Especially because me as a fan, I need to move away from a certain timeline a little bit more. So yeah, I don't know. He was a really great villain, and I think if I remember correctly, there's a book that kind of ties into this, and it seems like Krennic maybe started off as more of a friend to the Erso family. I do wish they had gone into that a little bit more, of like how he kind of drank more of the Imperial Kool-Aid, and I don't know, not that we needed all that information, but it would have been nice to have some like tidbits of Krennic and Galen and Lyra Erso, their like friendship, and then how it kind of like deviated based on ideology, There is a lot of content we have, books, video games, things like that, and especially the animated series, where you get little bits of the beginnings of the rebellion, And I think the thing that I loved about Rogue One in regards to the rebellion is it's not them trying to figure out how to be a rebel. Well, it is a little bit, but it's not like all of these individual little sects trying to kind of... It's really the unification of all of these people to become the rebellion. There are some Clone Wars arcs that I remember. Actually, Rebels arcs. With Hera Syndulla. She's the pilot, the Twi'lek pilot of the Ghost. She's going to be popping up in the Ahsoka series. I think a lot of us have... maybe not a lot of us, but some of us who are, paying attention to like casting and stuff like that. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is, I think, engaged or dating Ewan McGregor. She's gonna be in the Ahsoka series, and I'm guessing, along with a lot of other people, that she's probably playing Hera Syndulla. Well, Hera's dad is Cham Syndulla, and he is a big part of the beginning of the rebellion as well. And then, in the Clone Wars, you see... I actually forget how the arc goes because I haven't watched it in a really long time. But you see the beginnings of Saw Gerrera and his sister, and... spoilers for that arc, his sister is killed by the Empire, who she's kind of like, in this 3 or 4 episode arc, she's a focal point that becomes friends with Ahsoka, I believe, if that's right. And then she ends up losing her life to the Empire, and Saw goes off on his own, and we don't really see him again. Like, he's young guy, he's very skinny, he's got his whole body, and then they brought him in for Rogue One, and you see how he has he's interesting to the story in the fact that not only is he this person that trained with the Jedi at a certain point, but he also is in a sense, kind of an, not even an archetype, because I guess I don't remember the timeline. Vader exists, but you also get like a Vader on the good side a bit. Like, he's very, he's very much on the outskirts of the rebellion. They fight for a similar cause, but he's more violent and by any means necessary than the rest of the rebellion likes. And they've been dubbed, him and his crew have been dubbed terrorists by the rebellion, essentially. But you also get a physical representation of that too, by the fact that, like, if you've seen the Clone Wars and you know who Saw Gerrera is, you now see a physical progression into the toll that his body has taken from all of the things that have happened over the years, all of these supposed terrorist acts that him and his followers have done. So I thought adding him in, adding an animated character in, was a good idea, just for, in the business world, for synergy. You bring in people to see this movie and they're like, who's Saw Gerrera? Oh, he exists. What's this Clone Wars animated show? And then they realize there's a bunch of really great Star Wars in the Clone Wars. Two characters that also are in this movie that don't get a lot of talk, for this movie being considered one of the better films, was Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe. Really loved those characters. I remember when was it Entertainment Weekly put out some images before the movie came out, and Donnie Yen plays Chirrut. He's a martial arts action star, who I've seen in the is it the Ip Man? Ip Man, I think is what they're called, films. Those are pretty awesome. And yeah, he's a blind guard of the he was a guardian of the wills, and that's not explained really at all in the movie. But what the wills are, and the wills is WHILL. The wills was in an earlier draft of Star Wars, the first Star Wars movie. Before R2 and C3PO, the wills were the narrators essentially of the movie. The Star Wars was like written in a retelling from the book of the wills, and the wills are like guardians of the Force. They are like living embodiments of the Force. They're not Jedi or whatever. They're like higher beings that are essentially the Force. And Chirrut and Baze were temple guards at the Temple of the Wills. They don't explain any of that in there, even though, so Jeddah, the planet that they spend a lot of time on, or some time on in Rogue One, the like desert planet, is where they mine kyber crystals, which kyber crystals are used in lightsabers. They are like the heart of a lightsaber, heart of kyber. And the Empire's mining them, so kyber crystals is what they use to power the Death Star, essentially. And I think there's a lot of story to tell there still. It would be really cool to get a little bit more history or mythology around the wills and the Force, and to even bring back these two characters. Baze particularly. Hold on, is there somebody here? Ah, there is. And I know what it is. It's an Amazon delivery. It's a book for school. So I'll get that in a little bit. Sorry for the disruption. It's hot here, and we're not turning the AC on because it's not necessary. My room is hotter than the rest of the house, so I just have my window open and the fan going. So it was just slightly distracting. Anyways, sorry about that. Baze, there are spoilers for Rogue One. If you haven't seen it already, then go watch the movie and then watch Andor, and then watch this. No, watch this and then Andor. I don't know. We'll talk about Andor after the break. So Baze and Chirrut were both guardians of the wills. And Baze, he rocks out on this like giant gun where he's got this giant pack, and it's like the gun's attached and everything. And there's even a line where it was like he was the most devoted of all the like temple guards or whatever. And I would love to see more of that. There might be like a comic or something about those characters. I'm not sure. Comics and some of the extracurricular stuff is I don't read all of the books. I've read some of them. I've read some of the comics. I actually have two that I need to get through. I've never even started the Dr. Aphra stuff, but I did start the Darth Vader series. The first run of Darth Vader from Marvel, they're really good. They're really good. Yeah, there's just some awesome stuff happening. Anyways, Dr. Aphra is another character that comes from the comics. People have talked about bringing her into live action, which would be interesting. It's a little unfair to say female Han Solo, but I would say she's a female Indiana Jones. She works with Darth Vader at a certain basically for a little bit. She's got Chrysanthemum from Boba Fett, the big black Wookiee. She rolls with him. That was where he appeared originally, was in her crew in the comics, and she also has an R2 and a C3PO unit, and they're like maniacal murderers. They're like complete flips on C3PO and R2D2, which would be fun characters to see. And there's been a lot of rumors and talk about how they could use her, or where. Anyways, there's not enough K2SO, the Imperial droid, voiced by Alan Tudyk. There's not enough of him in the universe. He's great. Most of the droids, pretty much all the droids, I would say, in Star Wars are good. I've enjoyed almost all of them. A lot of the droids are endearing characters, I think. Another one that doesn't get enough time is Rise of the Skywalker is one of my least favorites. But what is it, Dio? That's a cute little robot, and he felt for him. But yeah, K2SO is just like good comedy relief, and kind of a sassy for us, I think we're getting K2SO at some point in one of the 2 seasons of Andor. I think I heard we're not getting K2SO in the first season of Andor, but season 2, which that's fine, but still not enough. There's not enough. One of the thoughts I had about this was just kind of a thought in passing when watching Rogue One. Jyn at one point ends up at the Rebel base on Yavin 4, the like jungly planet with the temples, and I was just like wondering, I don't really know, but was like Yavin 4 developed during like the Old Republic? Because it looks like it probably was. It'd be cool to get some like history on some of the planets. I guess we do, but speaking of planets, Scarif, where the end battle takes place, the like tropical planet, that was super awesome. And it would be really cool to go back there at some point too. Maybe even see like the ruins of the Empire, like have like old destroyed ruins in like a really nice beach tropical area, and like dig around through there. I don't know, that'd be a cool setting for something, I think. And yeah, that Scarif battle, they released a trailer, like one of the first trailers for Rogue One that came out had a bunch of scenes from that battle that ended up getting cut. Like Jyn is on the like satellite thing at the end, and she has to like adjust the satellite dish, which, by the way, you have this whole like satellite area and a bunch of control panels, and then to like straighten the satellite out, you have to walk out to a platform that's just like dangling over the side of the building. Like, who designs this stuff in Star Wars? Half the time there's not even handrails. Like, where is OSHA? I'm honestly like, what is going on here? Like, remember when Force Awakens in Force Awakens, where, spoiler, Kylo Ren kills Han Solo? There's zero handrails across that entire like bridge that drops like who knows how far, like more than just like they're inside of a planet. Yeah, what the heck's going on? Like, I don't know, they've done a really good job within the universe to like build up like, okay, so the Empire is like takes over here, or like there's these I don't know, like the Hutt family deals with crime over, like there's so much detail to some of the stuff that I'm like, how is there not like work oversight, at places of business, regardless of what you think of or how you feel about the Empire? Like, people are just trying to get paid. And if you're if you're an engineer and you got to go fix like a core for something, and you walk across this bridge, like a narrow bridge that's like barely the size of a sidewalk, with zero handrails, that just drops like for literal like stories. Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe they did spend all their money on like 4 Death Stars and Star Destroyers, and then and then later on we figure out in Rise of the Skywalker there's this like fleet out in the the rim, the outer rim, like. Okay, I really don't understand where the resources come for some of this stuff for the Empire. Yeah, 2 Death Stars, like thousands of Star Destroyers, and all this stuff. He figured the Senate had handrails, little floating carts. We're not talking about well, I mean, look, it was a Rise of Skywalker had some weird things, but still, like, you think about it, there's the Empire when they're at their prime, before Luke kills the Emperor, there's like all of these multiple projects going on, like all over the place. Half of them are secretive, like 2 Death Stars, all of these Star Destroyers, all the like X-Wing or TIE fighters that go in, the design of all of them. And then also at the same time, like somehow he's figured out like this cloning and how to stay alive thing that's like super convoluted by the time we get to Rise of Skywalker. I don't know. So yeah, maybe it's best to not talk about that fleet. And I'll also give it the benefit of the doubt that it's like it was developed in the Outer Rim and there's a lot of stuff we don't know about. And hold on. Let me put my glasses on. So they built the fleet, the Sith fleet, out in the Outer Rim, and we don't really know all the planets out there because it's uncharted. So that's why it's the Outer Rim. So like maybe there's like all these planets out there with resources that we didn't know about. So like there's a possibility that the Emperor was like the smartest person in the whole universe, galaxy, whatever. All right, sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, that was so irritating. There's like 2 lines in the movie that like describe, or I think it's just like 1 line, and it's like, or no. There's 2 lines. There's 2 different people that say something about it, and somebody's like, how is the Emperor Palpatine back? And I think it's Oscar Isaac that says something along the lines of like Sith dark magic or whatever, and then like just a shot later or whatever, I forget his name. It's one of the hobbits from the Lord of the Rings movies. He's one of the rebellion people, which Dominic Monaghan, I think, is his name. Yeah, he's one of the Rebel Alliance, and he has like 1 line in the whole movie, and it's like, it basically just like, yeah, it's Sith dark magic, something we didn't know about before, and it's like, what the fuck? This is so poorly written. The last thing I want to talk about Rogue One before I go to a commercial break is I did notice there was a reference. So when Jin and Cassian make it to the tower and they're pulling out the schematics and they're looking through the archives of all of the projects going on, there's a couple of them that are listed. I think there's one that's called Black Saber, Project Black Saber, which I wonder if that has to do with the Dark Saber. But the other one that kind of stood out to me, and this is, I mean, this is to use the word Omega doesn't necessarily mean anything, but that's kind of a Bad Batch reference. If you're not watching the Bad Batch, don't worry about it. We're getting season 2 in January. I kind of like the show. I'm not a hater on it at all. But it is a little bit, I don't know. It's maybe not. So far, I find Rebels to be better, more concise of a story than. I'll have to do it. I'll have to do a Bad Batch thing at some point. But the young girl, I'm gonna spoil Bad Batch. Excuse me. So the Bad Batch, real quick, is a bunch of clone troopers that are what am I trying to say? They're not mutated. They've got like defects to them. So all of them are different. None of them, but I think their inhibitor chips don't work, but they all have something off about them. And so before even Order 66 happens, they're kind of like, they're really elite, but they're very specific kinds of clone troopers. And then I think whatever happens during Order 66, most of them don't malfunction, and they don't end up going bad. But at some point they're on Kamino. Well, their home, the clones base was Kamino, where all the clones were made. And there's a young girl who ends up becoming part of the Bad Batch, and her name is Omega. And the reason she's called Omega is because she is the Jango Fett, Boba Fett's dad, who is the template for the clones. He had 2 unaltered clones. We only knew about one, Boba Fett. We only knew about that, well, since the prequels. But we've known that for, 20 years now. Omega is the other unaltered clone, and I don't think she knows where she comes from, really, but Boba Fett technically has a sister. I mean, not technically, but she's technically a clone, but it would be his sister, kind of. And so she's got something special about her, which we as the audience aren't privy to yet because the story's ongoing. But yeah, I wonder if both the Black Saber reference has something to do with Mandalore and the Mandalorians, and I wonder if Mark Omega is what they call it, was a reference to Bad Batch. Well, not a reference to Bad Batch. Bad Batch wasn't out yet. So yeah, Rogue One is a really great film. I tried watching with my 5-year-old nephew, who loves Star Wars, and I did realize that he was not into it. I think it's a little bit different pacing than normal Star Wars. I mean, it's Star Wars for my generation and older, I think, but more people will love it. It's just not like lightsaber battles and mysticism and all this stuff. It's more of a straightforward like war film. It is a total World War II film, and Scarif battle is awesome. So Rogue One will lead into A New Hope, but we are getting a prequel. Rogue One is a prequel. We are now getting a prequel to a prequel in a form of a series of Andor, where we follow Diego Luna's character, Cassian Andor, up to, from what I understand, this series will get 24 episodes, 12 episodes a season. So yeah, season 1 will get 12 episodes, and then season 2, 12 episodes. And it's going to lead directly into Rogue One, so it'll be like Cassian Andor into Rogue One, into A New Hope, into Empire, and so on, which is cool. It's a connective thread. So that dropped, the first 3 episodes dropped last night at midnight. And after the break, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to spoil some stuff, but I'm going to do my best to not spoil too much. I mean, I guess they're doing it kind of Clone Wars like, where there's 3 or 4 episode arcs. From what I understand, we got the first 3 episodes last night. So we'll talk about the start of Andor here in just a minute. Get used to pain. The universe doesn't use lube.
I'm Richard's Pet Wedding Facilities, and I give these stickers away at every pet wedding. The kids love them too. This bag from, what's his name? Wild dinosaurs? Weren't they all wild? What an oxymoron. Anyways, I like to put my special things in this bag. Plus, I'm pretty sure this is my spirit animal.
Life gave me lemons, so I sold them for this sweet baseball tee. All right. We're back. Welcome back. Sorry. Ugh. So, I don't have a lot of notes for Andor, but I do have a lot of graphics to go through. I think there was some cool things to talk about, and I'm going to try to talk less about like plot points. I think it's hard to but I want to talk about some of the things that happened within, where's the poster? Right here. Yeah, there's my graphic. Well, it's not my graphic. It's the poster for the show. This came out last night at midnight. It's available today. I don't think this is the I won't say it's not family friendly, but I won't say it's for kids either. If your kids liked Rogue One, they will probably like this. If you liked Rogue One, you will probably like this. Let's see. I'll start with the poster. I love the art from a lot of Star Wars posters. I even have a Rise of Skywalker tin thing back here. It's actually this thing right there. That's out of focus and super dark. But I do like the art, even if the movie's not very good. So, all right, let's get started. Diego Luna was one of the standouts from Rogue One. Man, my nose keeps getting super itchy when I'm on stream. I don't know what the deal is. Looks like I'm constantly trying to pick my nose, or I have like a Coke problem or something, which I don't, not anymore at least. Damn. Oh, I know what it is. It's time to trim the nose hairs down. That's what time it is. Oh, I need a little more light in here. Hold on one sec. There we go. That's better. So yeah, Andor came out last night, the first 3 episodes, and let's see. I'll go through what graphics I have as kind of my notes. This is Cassian. He I had this thought, not that I'm talking shit about the show or anything. Oh, excuse me. But he aggressively walks everywhere in the show. Like, there's no chill about Andor at all. If he's walking somewhere, it looks like he's walking to get away from somewhere, or he's walking to get somebody somewhere like super quick. There's never like just a romp through town, you know. It's very much like, someone's following me. I gotta ditch him. It's like, dude, no one's following you. You're literally just walking home. But yeah, so Diego Luna, fantastic actor. I hadn't seen him in much. I know he's in one or two of the seasons of Narcos. But I think Rogue One was the first time I'd seen him in anything, and I think he is very captivating of an actor. I'm very much hooked on him when he's on screen. We'll see how this show pans out, because there's a lot of cool stuff happening that, like, as long as this is your lead, you know, and you have somebody so I hesitate to say entertaining, because he's not like super funny. There's some funnier moments or some like silly moments that happen, which I'll actually share one real quick. Where is it? Is this shakedown? Mute that one. And then, so yeah, this scene right here, this is kind of an out of context point to the show too. Like, it doesn't have an immediate reaction meaning to the story. It's just character development, part of the story, and I loved it. This is good humor. Not to compare Marvel and Star Wars, because they're very different and the comedy should be very different, but I'm not feeling a lot of the comedy in Marvel right now. But this scene was really good because this dude in the yellow jacket here confronts Andor as he's walking home or walking somewhere. I don't remember where he's going. And he's like there to like shake him down. And it really, like, that interaction just kind of goes to show Andor Cassian was doing shady stuff, and he owes people money. And so it's really like him trying to shake Cassian down, and he's like, he uses this big alien as his muscle. But the scene is really funny because, like, Andor turns around, and instead of being intimidated, he's like, "You brought this guy? Seriously? You brought this guy?" And he's like, you let this guy bully you around and tell you what to do?" And he's like, the big guy's like, "Oh yeah, you just told me to stand here." And Andor just like walks away. It's like, "All right, I'm out of here, you jokers." It's a really good scene. So we start to develop a bit of, I said I wasn't going to do too many spoilers, but it's kind of hard to talk about this without too many. And I mean, like, look, we haven't gotten to a lot of what the season is yet. So this is a lot of build up to kind of reestablishing who this character is, and also establishing this character who he was before Rogue One. We get a sense of who he is. He'll do the rough task at hand if he has to, but he also has a bit of a heart too. And you start to see that in here. It's kind of a better retelling of Solo, in the sense of Han Solo, the movie. He's a very much different character than the Han Solo we know later. And by the end of it, he's supposed to be that Han Solo, which didn't work for a lot of people, myself included. But this Andor, we get a sense of who he is before he's joined the rebellion, and we get a sense of who he is when he's in the rebellion in Rogue One. And it's the same character, like you can see a progression in the character. And I think it works really well so far. He's a really smoothly written character as so far. We'll see how that progresses over the course of the series. Let's see what is next. Yeah, so this is Cassian, and don't really have a full description of what the relationship is, or maybe was. But this is Bix, partner of his, who is helping him sell some stolen parts. And she is a big part of the first 3 episodes. And her story is kind of intercut with this guy she's seeing, whose name is Tim, with 2 M's. And he's the first time I hated a person. He's the first person in Andor that I hated. Yeah, so they've got a thing going on, and Andor and Bix have business dealings. The boyfriend gets a bit jealous and calls the authorities because Andor is on a wanted list. From episode 1, he did some things that he's being tracked for. So yeah, we'll talk about that actually real quick. Sorry, I'm jumping around in my graphics. It's just, like I said, I'm using my graphics as my notes today. This is the security corps. What are they called? They're called, oh shoot, what are they called? They have a full name. Preox Morwana Corporation Security. I'm not really sure what they're all about, like the corporation themselves, but this guy right here in the middle that's facing Fiona Shaw, who we'll talk about in a bit, he's kind of the main antagonist. His name is Cyril Karn, and yeah, he's a part of this corporation, a security corporation that's they're police in a way. You know, they're not as far as I understand, they're not the empire. They're their own thing. And I don't know the character or the actor's name, but the dude next to him, right near the edge of the doorway, man, they have really done a good job with villainous characters. He has sideburns. I think he's gonna end up being one of those Imperial dudes. I think in is it Empire, or maybe not. Well, it could be A New Hope. There's a guy in A New Hope that I remember having large sideburns, because that was the style in the 70s. Just big old sideburns that come down to like here, and then they're like, you know. Mine aren't far off. Yeah, he looks the part of an Imperial from the 70s, from the actual 1970s, when, you know, the first Star Wars came out. And yeah, they're hunting Cassian so far, which kind of climaxes a bit in episode 3. And yeah, we'll get a closer look at Cyril. That's Cyril. He's an intriguing villain. I am scared by him, but I'm not super intimidated by him. He's like a timid Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones, maybe. We don't have an idea on, you know, how brutal he can be, but he is following his gut, and he's trying to find justice. Like, he has a purpose. This isn't just like a you know, the Empire being like, these rebel scum. It's not necessarily that. Like, he has a reason to be after Andor. You know, he's trying to solve a murder, and Cassian is tied up in that murder somehow. So yeah, Cyril Karn. I think I'm gonna venture to guess that him and this other guy that I said look like a really spot on Imperial. I think they're gonna end up becoming Imperials at some point. But let's see, what else is there? Oh, maybe the heart of the show is this little guy. His name is B2 EMO. B2 Emo. Oh, who does the voice? I forgot to look that up. Let me check that out real quick. Voice actor. Because I think it's... here we go. Oh, come on. Don't give me a full article that I have to read through. Oh, he's played by the puppeteer that controlled him. Okay, that's great. I always like to hear that. I'm not seeing a name, and I'm not going to read this whole article right now to try to... something Chapman? Dave Chapman. According to IMDb, Chapman played BB-8 in the new Star Wars trilogy and has had an extensive history in puppetry, having lent his talents to the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance and the Muppet Treasure Island. Cool. I like both of those, actually. Yeah, this is a really great droid. Like I was saying before, droids are kind of the heart of Star Wars, and B2 B2 is really, I don't know. When you first meet him, he's got a little stutter to him, and you just like, he's kind of lonely, really. He just wants Cassian to hang out with him. So I don't want to see anything happen to B2. Please leave B2 alone. Save B2. I don't know. This is not a spoiler for anything. I don't know what happens, but he's just a good character so far. I think the last two things I have are I'll go into this. Stellan Skarsgård was advertised in this show heavily, and he does pop up in episode 3. Is it? I think it was episode 3. And we honestly don't really know much about him in this show, but when he comes in, and he is a scene stealer. He chews up some of this. There's a whole scene with him and Cassian talking about they're supposed to be making a trade of some kind, and that whole scene is man, it's great. Both of these two actors together, phenomenal actors, just rocking it in the Star Wars rocking it in the Star Wars universe. I'm excited to see more of Stellan Skarsgård's arc throughout this. We see him in the trailers doing all kinds of stuff. You know, he's flying his ships all crazy. I think he's in some battle scenes, and he's also like, I think they show him. He looks like he might be dressed as like a senator at some point too. This is just trailer stuff. This isn't story points that I'm familiar with yet. But yeah, I think the cast for this is great. And speaking of cast, this is the last thing I'm gonna touch on here, I think. Actually, no, there's one other thing, but this is gonna be the last thing I touch on specifically to the show, the production part of the show. This is Fiona Shaw. She's been in a lot of stuff. She was she was in the Harry Potter movies. She was Harry Potter's aunt. I forget her name off the top of my head. But yeah, she's been in a ton of stuff, and she plays Cassian's mom. But part of what's going on in these 3 episodes is there are intercut scenes of Cassian as a kid, and where he actually comes from, and this little tribe he's a part of, and that I wasn't quite sure where it was going, but where we get to in episode 3 with that is really interesting. And yeah, Fiona Shaw is a big part of that storyline. We don't know a lot about her yet, but B2 is her droid. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't wait to see more of this show. This is one of the best Star Wars shows for a mature audience, I guess I would say. Mandalorian, I mean, my 5-year-old nephew watches Mandalorian. He's been watching since he was like 3. And, you know, he's pumped about this stuff. This isn't necessarily for him. There's a little bit more politics and, you know, some of the more like grounded world building stuff, you know, like, I don't know. It's that's why I keep saying it's very Rogue One, you know. It's not about a lot of lightsabers or the Jedi. It's about other stuff. It's about people actually struggling and trying to survive, and how the worlds or the universe around them works with the Empire, because this is full on Empire world that we're living in. You know, the Empire is in control during this time. And yeah, Fiona Shaw is she's a wonderful actress. I hated her from Harry Potter, but that's because she did her job well. You're supposed to kind of hate her, but also whatever. I should do a Harry Potter thing. I should dress up in some like robes and have my wand and do some like Harry Potter talk one of these days. Because I did go to Harry Potter Land this last weekend. Yeah, so the casting, the acting, the cinematography, the pretty much everything in this show is pretty good. I mean, not pretty good. It's great. When I watched the first couple episodes, and I hate to shit on She-Hulk too much, but when I watched the first couple of episodes of She-Hulk, I was like, this is good, and I've slowly like declined on that one. This show is like leagues above that already, and it looks like it's only getting better. It also doesn't play into a sitcom format, although I will say the episodes are like 35 episodes. The Cassian Andor episodes are like 35 minute episodes, something like that, so they're pretty easy to get through. Pretty impactful. But I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that Tony Gilroy, who did the reshoots, was a part of the reshoots for Rogue One and credited as a writer. He's show running Andor, and he's made comments about they might have, whenever people get quoted in interviews, it sometimes, more than sometimes, is out of context. And so comments that he has made about Star Wars are, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I don't really care about Star Wars. And I think maybe that's unfair for us to think like, oh, he doesn't like Star Wars, he shouldn't be making Star Wars. Like, that's not how stories are told. You don't necessarily have to be the biggest fan of something to make a good movie. You need to be a good storyteller. And Tony Gilroy has, let me pull up his IMDb, just so we can read off stuff together, so we all know, we're all on the same page, what he's done. So Tony Gilroy, let's see, his IMDb, let's not go producer, let's go director. He's got 3 directing credits: Born Legacy, Duplicity, and Michael Clayton. Not all great movies, but they're all like good movies. And as a writer, he wrote Andor, Rogue One, The Great Wall, Born Legacy, State of Play, Duplicity, Michael Clayton, Born Ultimatum, The Cutting Edge, Born Supremacy, Born Identity. He wrote all the Born movies. Bait, he adapted Armageddon, The Devil's Advocate, Extreme Measures, Dolores Claiborne, and The Cutting Edge. So The Cutting Edge, that's the, I don't know if you remember The Cutting Edge, but it's a figure skating movie from 1992. D.B. Sweeney's in that one, and Terry O'Quinn from Lost. Anywho, so Tony Gilroy is like not a big Star Wars fan, and I've heard people talking about like, well, you need to be a fan to make this movie, and I completely disagree with that. You need to understand the characters, yes, and you need to be a good storyteller. Those are the 2 most important things when you're making a movie or TV show, is you need to understand the characters that you're working with, which he clearly does. He's worked with Cassian since Rogue One. And he's also kind of built his own little pocket of Star Wars, which I think is good. It's nice to have these little pockets of Star Wars that work well. We've got Mandalorian, and then like Ahsoka over here, and we've got Rogue One and Cassian Andor over here. And I think it's really good. I think this is the kind of way Star Wars should be developing more, is a little for everybody, and then you can have a movie or maybe another series or something like that maybe ties stuff together, or maybe doesn't, because you don't have to tie everything together. Again, we can totally leave this time period. Disney just doesn't want to yet. So yeah, Andor series is great. Don't have to be a major nerd, Star Wars nerd, to make a good Star Wars movie. You have to be a good storyteller. And Tony Gilroy is showing that he's a good storyteller in this particular part of the universe so far. And he has an end goal too, 2 seasons. That's it. So I can't wait till next week. I can't wait till next Wednesday to get another episode of this. I'm just finally feeling like there's a little bit of a weekly schedule, what is it? Sunday nights, Game of Thrones. Wednesday, well, this is my kind of schedule. Sunday night, Game of Thrones. Wednesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday, Star Wars, and then Wednesday night, Thursday, you get She-Hulk, and then you get your Marvel fix, and then Friday is Lord of the Rings. Those are the shows that I've been watching right now. Harley Quinn's over, the only comparison I had to that was She-Hulk, which is totally unfair, but Harley Quinn, the animated series, is much better. It's brutal. It's not for kids, so but it is really good. And this season really developed Harley Quinn into a new character that she's been kind of going towards for a while. So anyways, I'm gonna get going here. I'm gonna go eat some food. I think there's food here for me. Tomorrow I'll be back at 6. I'm gonna try to figure out some things here. I got this new keyboard here, and I wanna do some tests with you guys tomorrow. I wanna play around tomorrow, maybe jam a little bit. So maybe we'll get some live music tomorrow if I can get that all up and running and everything. And just because yesterday and the last 2 weeks have been a little rough with the situation here at the house. As a compromise to the people here, I'm gonna not do a Friday show this week. So tomorrow will be the last episode for the week. I apologize for canceling yesterday, and I apologize for canceling this Friday. It's the best compromise I can come up with. There's another thought I have about the weekly schedule, which I'll maybe talk about later, because I'm not ready to decide that yet. But so tomorrow I'll be back at 6 p.m. It'll be the last show for the week. And then I'll be back on schedule Monday. Everything's going back to normal this weekend. So I'll be back to my normal schedule on Monday. So before I get going, don't forget to check out wilddinosaur.com. It's the best place to support the channel and to check out my art that I do. I do music, and I do visual art. I've got music videos up there. I've got my online store. I've got links to Spotify and Bandcamp and stuff like that. And the last thing is, don't forget, I really like to ask people to donate to Planned Parenthood. I have a link in the description to do so. Things are getting crazy up in this mug. So yeah, if you feel if you are so inclined, donate to Planned Parenthood, because it's super important. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed getting through a full episode today. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.